We have been talking about the privacy awareness. In the last video, we talked about how and why it is important for the principals. Today, we are going to discuss how and why it is important for the internal staff of a fiduciary. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy, and as I said, we are going to talk about how privacy awareness is important and why it is important for the staff handling the personal data of customers inside a fiduciary. So what's a fiduciary? Fiduciary is the organization or the individual who is processing personal data. DPDP Act says collecting, storing, using, sharing with third party or deleting personal data of any citizen of India in digitized form is called processing, and you should comply with the DPDP Act if you are doing any of these activities. Right? If you don't, then there are penalties, and not only from compliance point of view, breach of personal data is not good for you, right? We'll talk about that in this video. So any organization who does that is a fiduciary for the Indian DPDP Act, and if that data is high volume or if that data is sensitive data in the sense that losing or breach of that data could harm that individual, then that fiduciary is further termed as significant data fiduciary, right? So now we move on to why privacy awareness is crucial for a fiduciary. Why privacy is crucial for a fiduciary? A breach could lead to a reputational damage. Reputational damage, loss of customer trust, immediate loss of business. I've seen a case study of a very large business internationally. While they are so large and monopolized, a breach impacted them with a very huge fine. That was one part of it. Second, momentarily for sure, some customers stopped using their services and they lost business. Right? It's an airline, and airline has to fly the aeroplane irrespective of the level of booking. So it's loss of business because the cost of flight would still be there. Right? Now, when a monopolized business, customers will have to come back to you, but then that's not the way you would like to do business, irrespective of which type of business you are, because the penalty that the government imposed was very, very huge. So there are financial impacts, there are effort impacts if you are non-compliant, because then you have to justify to the board, and those impacts multiply if there is a breach. So if you contain the breach, you become compliant and you reduce both the impacts. A breach not only has a penalty, a breach has the cost of handling the judicial system as well as internal and external privacy teams, and then implementing new things to avoid breach again. Right? And then when you do everything in urgency and criticality, the costs are different. Right? So it's very important for a fiduciary to be careful about the personal data of their customers. What are their key responsibilities? They have to ensure transparency. They have to make sure that they have consent, and that having consent does not mean having consent only. A proper mechanism to record the consent so that if in case there is an issue or a dispute, they can present the consent details. There has to be a process of purpose limitation. Collect and use only for that purpose. You stay limited within your purpose. Just not jump around anywhere and do, since you have personal data of someone, then you do whatever. So consent and purpose limitation work together. There is another concept which is data minimization, where so overall we say that you collect as minimum as required only for the given purpose, and have a proper consent from your principal that you are going to use his minimum data for only this purpose, and he has no objection to it. Now that purpose and consent could be as big as sharing his personal data, right? Using it for marketing purposes. California, they even sell the personal data, but then you have consent for it, right? Data security, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I'm not going to allow anyone to access my data or my customers' data in an unauthorized manner. I'm not going to allow anyone to breach integrity of that data. I'll keep it encrypted and anonymized. And I'll have a safe copy with me so that if I lose the data, I can get it back from the safe copy. Breach management, if there is a breach, you need to go back to the principals as well as to the board to inform them as early as possible. GDPR says within 72 hours, and a grievance request. If my principal is not happy with me, he can come and lodge a complaint with me. Right? And how does he handle that complaint, or how do I handle that complaint to avoid an escalation? We did a series on grievance management for the last 1 week. You can refer there. In the previous video, we also spoke about the principal can come to fiduciary. They can jointly go to the board, or either of them can go to the board, and if you are not satisfied with the board, you can go to the appellate tribunal, and if you are not satisfied with the appellate tribunal, you can go up to the higher courts and take judicial recourse, depending on how much you want to invest and what possible impact you had with the grievance. So why privacy is important or awareness is important internally? Well, the person who is handling personal data on the organization's behalf, the staff member, the stakeholder, he has to have the clarity of the purpose. Why was this data provided to him? He has to have the clarity of the organization's commitment to the data principle as to what are we going to do with the personal data. Data processing should be done or handled very, very carefully. Teams should be very, very sensitive while they are handling personally identifiable information, PIIs or personal data, and the internal team has to understand the impact of breach and its consequences. They should consider themselves as a principal and imagine if their credit card detail is lost or hacked, what possible things can go against them, what possible harms can they have, right? To ensure that your internal team is fully aware of it, you should spread privacy awareness. You should conduct regular trainings for all stakeholders. This could be as top as the executive board to the as bottom as the person cleaning the desk, that if he sees a personal data record, how does he handle it? Does he just tear it off or shreds it, right? So that's very, very important. Privacy training, and that also includes now the fact role specific training. You would say a table cleaner person, what is his role in privacy? Well, he can destroy the record if he finds it that there's something wrong. Inter-department, a customer comes in for the sales and he has to talk to the finance, and the implementation team needs his personal information to implement and provide support. So how does the personal data move within the organization is another important aspect. You should showcase to your team what is the business and financial impact of a breach. Huge. Indian DPDP Act can go up to 250 crore rupees, which is a huge value. Why? You have either not taken the consent or you have not maintained the record of the consent taken. So simple, right? So your employees, people who are handling that personal data, should be aware that the impact could be as high as that. Document your clear data processing processes. Very, very small processes. You apply for a job, I reject you. What do I do with your CV that you give me? Publish it on a privacy notice on your website so that anyone who is applying is aware that even if he gets rejected, this is the treatment he is going to get, or his personal information is going to get. And even in your CV, you have your name, your address, your phone number and your email ID, at least these 4 minimum parameters. You should appoint a privacy team depending on the volumes and the criticality and the sensitivity of the data, and that should have officers, a DPO, to monitor how the personal data is being handled. There is a series of videos on data protection officers. I'll tag my playlist here. You can go through that. You should conduct regular audits, things like DPI, data protection impact assessment. Again, there's a playlist on that as well, so I'll tag that as well for your reference, and you can go through that. So these are the ways how you can spread the privacy awareness inside your organization. And once you think everyone has been trained well, you should have regular mechanisms of spreading awareness further. Posters, danglers, emails, reception area, cafeteria, short videos, shots of 1 minute, 2 minutes, so that your team is automatically following, or your processes are embedded with privacy by design principles of Dr. N. Kabukian, and everything is taken care, all processes are taken care with privacy in mind. So that's about spreading internal awareness for privacy. I hope you like the content of the video. Please press the bell and the like icon. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.